How micro commitments transform your health. Tiny changes, massive results. Welcome to your daily hit of grace and grit, your quick dose of inspiration to kickstart your day. This show is proudly sponsored by Rumble and Rise. To find out more about joining Rumble and Rise, head on over to graceandgrit.com/ready to rumble. I'm Courtney Townley, and here is today's hit. January 1st rolls around and many of us, declare, this is the year. This is the year I'm going to work out 5 days a week. I'm going to meal prep on Sundays. I'm going to meditate in the mornings. I'm going to put myself to bed at a reasonable hour. I am going to lose those last 20 pounds. And by February, you know how this rolls. In fact, you might be feeling this right now. We're often exhausted, discouraged, and right back where we started January 1st. But here's the thing, ambition isn't the problem. The problem is we often try to overhaul our life overnight, when our brains are actually designed to resist massive change and massive effort. Enter micro commitments, ridiculously small actions that almost feel laughable. 1 glass of water before coffee, 2 minutes of stretching before you go to bed, a 20-minute walk during your lunch break at work. Now, here's where it gets interesting, because I've seen a very clear pattern in the clients I've worked with over the years. The ones who resist micro commitments because they feel that the commitments are almost beneath them. They insist that they are capable of more. And here's the thing, they are capable of more. I work with very capable women. But when they commit to too much out of the gate, they are always the ones who struggle the most with consistency. They commit big, they start strong, and then they flame out. That is the pattern. Meanwhile, my clients who are willing to lower the bar on their commitments, who embrace commitments that feel almost embarrassingly small, are the ones who don't just succeed, but sustain their success over the long term. They're the ones who are still going strong 6 months later, a year later, who've actually transformed their lives. Why? Because the magic isn't really in the action itself, it's in the identity shift that happens when you start keeping promises to yourself day after day. So while your brain resists massive change and massive effort, it doesn't really, on a fundamental level, care if your promise is big or small. What your brain registers is, I said I would do this and I did it. Or I said I would do this and I didn't do this. Which identity are you reinforcing? Because only one reinforces trust, which is, I said I would do this and I did it. That builds momentum. That changes who you believe yourself to be. That creates sustainability. So I worked with a client. This is just one of hundreds of examples I could give you. But a client, Sarah, wanted to start exercising, but it felt completely overwhelming to start incorporating workouts into an already very packed schedule. So I proposed that she start with 10-minute walks during her lunch break at work. And she hesitated. I feel like I should be doing more, she said. 10 minutes seems way too easy. Yeah, that's the point. And my response always to that comment is that, it seems too easy. I'm capable of more. I always say, prove it. Let's prove that this is too easy. Let's just commit to it and see if you can actually stay consistent with it over the next 10 days or 14 days. So this client, Sarah, agreed to do it. And she wasn't consistent. At the very beginning, she was messy and she started to laugh about it, right? Like, oh my gosh, this is 10 minutes. Why am I struggling with this? And that gave us a lot of opportunity to do coaching together. Eventually, she did become more consistent. Those 10-minute walks became 20-minute walks. Those 20-minute walks during her lunch break actually became walks on the weekends too. And then eventually she was in a place where she wanted to experiment with more aggressive cardio and then strength training. She completely revolutionized her relationship with movement because she started with a 10-minute walk during her lunch break. So here's why this works, right? Our brains have a negativity bias designed to protect us from threats. And when we set huge goals, our brain perceives them as risky territory, requiring massive amounts of resources, namely energy. So it feels resistant. But micro commitments fly under the radar. They're so small that your brain doesn't register them as threatening. You just do it. And once the habit is installed, making it bigger becomes exponentially easier. This is especially critical for us at Midlife Ladies because the resources available to us each day is wildly unpredictable, right? One day you sleep great and have energy to spare. The next day you're dealing with hormonal fluctuations, aging parents, work stress, and you're running on fumes. The beauty of a micro commitment is you can always keep it, regardless of the resources you have on board, because it doesn't require a lot. When your commitment is small enough, there's no such thing as a bad day. You didn't sleep well, you can still do your micro commitment. Stressful day at work, your micro commitment still fits. That consistency, not the size of the commitment, is what creates transformation. And here's what happens over time. Once you establish one micro commitment and it becomes automatic, you can add another and another. You start stacking them. Not because you should, but because you genuinely want to, because you've proven to yourself that you're someone who follows through. The clients who resist this approach, who consistently insist on committing to more because they're capable of it, they're not wrong about their capacity. They're wrong about their strategy. You might be perfectly capable of working out an hour a day, one day, but if that commitment doesn't survive real life, your actual schedule, your actual energy levels, then it's useless. A micro commitment you actually do beats an impressive commitment you abandon more often than you keep it. So let me ask you, what is one micro commitment you could make today, something so small that you cannot fail? The goal here is proof that you can trust yourself. Proof that tiny changes done consistently really do create massive results. If this stirred something inside of you, imagine what a whole book of clarity and courage could ignite. The Consistency Code, a Midlife Woman's Guide to Deep Health and Happiness, goes even deeper into the mindset and practices that create real, meaningful change at midlife. Grab your copy today over at theconsistencycode.com and keep the momentum alive.